when that guy said to me like, "Oh yeah, AI is going to take over your job, and you're not going to have a job in a few years," I was just like a New York guy in Brooklyn. I was like, "Get out of here!" You know what I mean? I was
I'm
like,
walking here.
"Yeah, exactly."
Dude, that is a great, I really want to piggyback off this conversation because we're live on it.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the PPC Cave with me, Ryan Fenton, and my co-host, Gene Villanoz. Say hi, Gene.
What's up? What's up?
And we're back together again. Last week, it was just Gene on a solo mission. This week, we're back together and we're talking about all the new releases that Google have made in the news. There's been a lot, kind of blindsided Gene, I think, and I a little bit, left, right, and center. We've talked about, or Google have released AI Max, excuse me, and they've also released a few Performance Max updates that are coming soon, and we're really excited about it, and we're going to get straight into it. But before I do, Gene, how have you been?
I'm good, man. Good. I feel like it's just getting closer to the middle of the year, and it's getting close to summer over here. So gearing up for that. But everything is great on my end. How about you?
Yeah, same, really pretty good. At the moment here in the UK, there's a lot of bank holidays. It's like the month of, I guess you guys say federal holidays, something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, kids are always off school and we have to entertain them. So for me, I'm out of pocket a lot at the moment. I have no money. It's all going towards kiddie holidays and things like that. So that's why I'm back this week trying to earn a few pennies to fund all my
Nice.
expensive lifestyle. But yeah, it's good times, and it's nice that the weather's been pretty good here in the UK as well recently. Makes things a little bit easier. So this is it. This is on Google's website basically now. Unlock next level performance with AI Max for search campaigns. And you may remember if you saw our episode a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Search Max and we talked about what that means and what that entails and things like that. And it was a combination of I think elements of Performance Max coming together, but in the search campaign. So from what I understand, a lot of it has to do with dynamic search ads. It has to do with using AI to, I guess, dynamically write ad copy for you and a few other things as well. But let's see what Google says about it. So, introducing AI Max for search campaigns, a comprehensive suite of targeting and creative enhancements that brings the best of Google AI to help you take your search campaigns to the next level. So, it sounds really nice and rosy up top. It's like a little checkbox inside the settings, I guess, or when you create a new campaign, a new search campaign, you've got the ability to turn that on, which would be interesting to test, I guess. Um, Expand your reach and discover new customers. Deliver the most relevant ad across surfaces. Um, Optimize your campaigns with enhanced controls and deeper insights. So that's what Google is saying. But if we look at what Search Engine Roundtable say, which I prefer, I think it's easier on the eye. It's a little bit more top level. When you look at the Google one, it's very like it's a 6 minute read time. You can listen to it, which is good. But I think what I like about Search Engine Roundtable, for busy marketeers and advertisers, it's a very top level kind of, it does this, it does that. So, looking at it, search term matching lets you expand upon your existing keywords using broad match and keywordless technology to find more relevant and high performing search queries. So I think the way I read that is that, again, we've talked about this in the past, that broad match has all these additional signals. It looks at what websites people have been on. It looks at how further far down in the funnel are they in terms of picking up the phone and giving the business a call or filling out a lead form. So I think all these additional signals that are behind Broadmatch are probably going to play a part in terms of AI Max and this new feature. You've got things like asset optimization. That's what I think Google have been pushing a lot more recently. I'm seeing a lot more like automatically created assets and things like that. Um, Yeah, I mean, I've kind of said a lot already. Gene, what's your initial thoughts on AI Max?
Yeah, AI Max, aka Search Max. I always am very skeptical, but hopeful that through time, if it's AI based, as we know, AI only gets better with more context, that it'll continue to be more specific to who we target. I Where I'm skeptical at is, the expanded reach, like you just mentioned with broad match. Does it just get more broad when we're using AI Max? And just the relevancy of the queries, right? I think that's one thing that we always go through with P Max is that learning phase of understanding the full customer journey. How long does that kind of take to for us to get there? And do we just see less search terms or hard data during that time? It's kind of my question, or skeptical, just being skeptical about that. But I think it's good. More tools in the toolbox.
I think that's a fair concern that you've raised there as well. And I think that's the same as me. I think how broad is this really? If it's going to go beyond, broad match and have a keywordless technology behind it, and I know from like reading the article before as well, it talked about incorporating, final URL. I think it was URL expansion. So like, what we know at the moment as dynamic search ads and things like that. So it's going to have a lot to do with more hands off. This is something that I think Google have been pushing a lot over the last couple of years, maybe even 3 years now. With the introduction of Performance Max, with the introduction and the heavy push towards auto apply recommendations, and now obviously they upgraded the broad match as well when they removed broad match modified, but all these things have changed, and now we have AI Max, and I think it's going to be at that next step in taking you know, like uh, manual changes and ability off our plate and let the algorithm do it. So for me, I am also concerned. I think for me, the way I would test it, and I think I said this on the episode a few weeks ago when it was called Search Max, I would do it in an account where we've tried a lot of things and maybe it's just not taking off, and it's just not working. So okay, let's try AI Max. Let's see if that can, like as a final push. And I think I even said like a Hail Mary kind of attempt, just throw out like an AI Max campaign, see what happens. Or the opposite end of the spectrum, which would be we've got a real dialed in account. We've tried different bidding strategies. We know that we're on the best bidding strategy possible. We've got the right type of keywords, right type of campaign set up, whatever it might be. This could be another element of testing. Is there any additional traffic out there that may convert that we've not tried before? So, two very different account types and structures to potentially experiment with AI Max. One where if everything's not working, give it a go, see what kind of results you get. Or the other side of it is a very well oiled account that's performing really, really well. And you just want to see what else you can capture to take the account to the next level. I think those cases would be good to test AI Max in. I mean, what are your thoughts, final thoughts on that, Gene, and final thoughts
Yeah.
on AI Max in general?
Yeah. I mean, AI Max, I think, is just the way of how Google Ads and in general internet is going towards, and it's important because Gemini was such a huge investment for Google that there needs to be some type of real world application to make sure that that spend is justified. And I think now that we have two, Performance Max and AI Max, AI based campaigns within Google Ads, I think, the people working on the AI for Google can wash their hands clean and say, hey, we have proof of concept here. But that proof of concept or their thought of how AI could help Google Ads managers doesn't always translate, as we mentioned before. I think the big thing that I read is the dynamic creatives. We had so much control with how we used to do text ads, expanded text ads, and now that moving towards responsive search ads, where you're just putting 15 or 30 different headlines and descriptions and letting Google, quote unquote, do its thing. How much more optimized can we really get while sacrificing our brand's voice? And that's the reason why we do search, is so that we can dictate specifically what our unique selling points are for either the client or the organization. But the fact that they're saying they're going to use different creatives or URLs, or just taking a look at our business as a whole, the control goes down, and perhaps the unique voice or unique selling points that we want, to be in search kind of will go away also. So that's just my skepticism. But like I said, there's going to be a certain point where us PPC managers just say, I think AI is smarter than us, and it's probably the way of how things are going to be. But hopefully we're still left with some transparency and control after the release of AI Max.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, because I actually had a conversation the other day with someone that isn't. He said he was in the marketing niche. He was in a completely different niche, more salesy, I think. And yeah, he tried to sell me really hard on a product or a project or whatever it might be you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. The point is that he took a very heavy pressure sales tactic with me, and I really didn't respond well to it. I actually pushed back and things like that. So, but that's a different story for a different time. The point I'm trying to make is that he actually said to me, like, AI is coming for your job. In a few years, there won't be a Google Ads account manager anymore. Digital marketing is going to go fully AI and things like that. And I just had to disagree. I didn't say it to him, but in my mind, based on all the research and the knowledge I have, maybe I'm being a bit, I don't know what the word is, skeptical, I guess, about my own kind of industry. But I still think there is going to be a need 3 years, 5 years. I mean, ever since I kind of got into, digital marketing, I've been hearing stories from like 2016, 18. Oh, SEO is dead, PPC is dead, Google Ads is dead, all this kind of stuff. And yet we're in 2025. We are now leveraging, if anything, ChatGPT, Gemini, all these different sort of like, well, I mean, you know what I mean, like ChatGPT type of AI systems. We're kind of leveraging them to help us to understand the data a little bit better, to also help us identify new opportunities and things like that. But to kind of say that I think AI is coming for our jobs and that a Google Ads account manager won't exist in a few years, personally, I think that's ridiculous. There's always going to be that like need for a Google Ad account manager to understand the data, to read the data, to analyze the data and make data-driven decisions. There's only so much an AI can do. Whether that is Performance Max, whether that is AI Max, whether that is auto apply recommendations or something else that Google releases, at the very, very least, there's going to be a disconnect between what the client or the business owner understands and what we, the Google Ads account managers, understand. And we need to convey that knowledge and that data in a way that the client, the business owner can understand. So it might be fine that, you're a business owner, you set up Google Ads, great. And you might be thinking, well, it's not set up very well. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand anything. So the confidence you have in running a Google Ads campaign, and if you're putting your own money, your own business money into a Google Ads campaign, and you're seeing lackluster results, or you feel like you could be getting better, what are you going to do? You're going to search for a Google Ads expert, a specialist, someone who knows what they're doing and who can break it down and convey that data to you in a way that you understand. So yeah, when that guy said to me like, oh yeah, AI is going to take over your job and you're not going to have a job in a few years, I was just like a New York guy in Brooklyn. I was like, get out of here. You know what I mean? I was
I'm
like,
walking here.
yeah, exactly.
Dude, that is a great, I really want to piggyback off this conversation because we're live on it, and I think there are two schools of thoughts here. That one, like Ryan said, there will be people that believe since there's AI, it'll replace PPC managers or whatever your job is. And then there's other people like us that understand that it's just going to make things more efficiently or more efficient. And it's funny that you mentioned this story because I actually was listening to a podcast the other day, and they talked about something called the Jevons paradox. I don't know if you've heard of the Jevons paradox.
Well,
Jevons paradox was named after this dude named William Jevons, and it was like in the 19th century where basically they were introducing steam engines versus coal, and a lot of the people were saying, oh, because steam engines is now prevalent and trains and all that, and steamboats back then used to run on coal, that coal is going to be absolute, but instead of that, introducing new technologies such as the steam engine, coal consumption in England actually increased. And it's just like EVs. People are saying we're going to create more EVs, so therefore electricity will go down, or just usage will go down in general. We don't have to rely on gas. But in my opinion, and this is proven, the more that you make something more efficient doesn't mean it's going to be used less. It's actually the complete opposite in certain different, different ways or different situations, that it could be used more, because it's more efficient. You know what I'm saying? If it takes a Google Ads manager to create a search campaign back then, maybe 2 hours, but now with ChatGPT takes 1 hour, do you think that search campaign manager is going to have more time for clients or less time for clients? More time. Right?
mm,
Because we can create faster, execute quicker, and get data and analyze things faster with ChatGPT or any software out there that does AI. So I think Ryan's absolutely correct. I am willing to bet anything that it's not going to take jobs away. It's going to provide more operators like me and Ryan tools to do things efficiently, therefore scaling not only that specific campaign but clientele in general. So I just had to add that in because I totally agree with you.
no, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I think it's just common sense, really. I think this guy was trying to input some sort of fear and pressure into me into buying his product type of thing, which again, like I said, I didn't go for in the end. I pushed back, and I always say have a sleep on it. Like if you make a decision on the day, you might regret it. So always best to sleep on that decision and make the decision the day after. And thankfully, I came to my senses and made the right decision. But the point is that even today I got an email from a client, and she was not understanding the data, and she even used ChatGPT to try and make sense of what data she was seeing inside the Google Ads account. But even then, she didn't understand. ChatGPT gave her a bit of an overview and tried to put it in layman's terms to a degree, but there's still certain elements she didn't understand. So from that aspect, even though she's trying to ask AI and ChatGPT and things like, give me an explanation as to what I'm seeing here, she still said, I'm still not 100% on this. I don't fully trust what they're saying. Can you give me a bit of an explanation and things like that? I'm yet to go back to her. So I do apologize, Emma, if you're watching this. I'll get back to you soon, don't worry. But the point is that I think there's always going to be a need for a human element in this game, pretty much. I could be wrong. It could be that fact that when my daughter is like my age and she's like in her 30s or 40s, and I'll be like in my 80s or whatever it might be, that that time, it might be a different industry. It probably will be. But as it stands right now, short term, I think for the next 3 to 5 years, there's more than likely definitely going to be a need for Google Ads account managers. Famous last words. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong in a few years' time. But of course, I'm skeptical. I hope I still have a job in a few years. I'm sure I will. But this is the thing: is that even if, right, I'm gonna wrap this up really quick, but I'll get for Gene's final thoughts. But even if ChatGPT or Gemini or Google or whatever it might be does replace us with, AI and things like that, and our AI, just hypothetically speaking, I still think there's going to be a need of a consultative type of role where, as Google Ads account managers, we may have to adapt and turn into more of like business consultants, advertising consultants, or something like that. Not only that, but also, having we're very good at adapting. Once upon a time, all we had was maximize clicks and manual. All we had was search and standard shopping. All we had was broad match modified, phrase, exact. And now look at where we are. We don't have expanded text ads anymore. We don't have broad match modified anymore. Bidding strategies have evolved into maximize conversion value and things like that. Smart bidding's come a long way. Keyword match type. There's so many things that from 2016, 18, whatever to 2025 has changed, and it's going to be the same in another 5 years' time. But the core fundamentals of advertising, the core fundamentals of marketing is always going to be the same. It doesn't matter if it's 1945 and you're watching something like Mad Men on TV, or if it's like 2025, 2029, whatever it could be. The core fundamentals of advertising are always going to be the same. And I think there's only so much an AI at the moment can replace us, and I don't think they're there yet. So final thoughts on that, Gene, before we go on to the next news article.
Yeah. That I totally agree. And I think just the final thought from me is, the efficiency of AI, alone is not going to guarantee a lower total resource usage of, PPC managers or whatever. In my opinion, it's going to usually, more often than not, make the resource just more attractive to use and more prevalent throughout, industries. And that's just from one use case of Google Ads and ChatGPT or AI. But I think AI in general, not just ChatGPT, will help so much PPC managers like me and Ryan, scale in all sorts of different ways. And I hope, down the road, like even one instance of maybe AI helping is I don't take any clients that have different languages aside from English, but if there is some type of software where I have a Dutch Google Ads account, but it just translates real time into English, and, perfectly, then you've opened up a new market of not just native English speaking Google Ads accounts, but I don't know, Chinese, Japanese, Greek, you know what I'm saying? So I think there is so much that we're just barely scratching the surface with, AI Max and just AI in general being layered on top of PPC, that, like I said, it's just going to help PPC managers get more clients in the future. But yeah, so that was, the first part, talking about AI Max. But before we get to the P Max update that Ryan will discuss also, I think it might be time for our beloved Ask a Freelancer. If you saw on video, Ryan was swaying with me this time. So
No,
get on video.
absolutely
Yeah,
not.
get on Spotify and YouTube video and watch us sway together. Ryan, I just want to ask you, what are the difficulties for B2B industries in Google Ads, or just in general, like just the B2B nature? Like, what are the difficulties or just the hardships you find in that niche?
Yeah, good question. I actually recently lost two, not just one, but two clients in the B2B niche. Um, Personally, unless it's a very attractive offer or whatever it is, I don't think I ever want to work in B2B again. It's just such a difficult, it's probably the hardest niche in Google Ads to get any type of results in. And the reason for that is just because I don't know. I think it's just such an uphill battle to convince another company to spend their money or to go with this product or service when they already are using a different product or service or whatever it might be. But it's just, B2C, direct to consumer, whatever, is so much easier. I think whether it's lead generation, whether it's e-commerce, that's absolutely fine. And that's kind of what I'm going to stick to going forwards. But B2B, I wish I had an explanation, but every B2B account I've managed, it's just been such a struggle to get any results. I don't know why. It's just such an uphill battle, and that's all I've got for you. I'm afraid, man. What about you?
Yeah, I think B2B. So I'm just really getting on B2B with some of my lead gen clients now. And I think the first thing, if we're looking from just in general, I think, it doesn't have to be Google Ads, but in Google Ads for sure, it's just a low search volume. There's more people than there are businesses, I think. I'm pretty sure. So it's like, like when you're looking at B2B keywords or just in general targeting for a company looking for another company or a company looking for a service, it just kind of narrows it down, narrows the pool of players down. So I think that's one of the first things for anyone doing like maybe like lead gen B2B for Google Ads or just freelancing in general. You could be a digital marketer in general, social media B2B or SEO B2B or email marketing B2B. Your pool of players have just dwindled down, and you have to almost be very specific with your targeting if you're trying to get leads to your service or just reach out. I think you really have to stand out and be very hyper focused with what your offering is and pinpointing those looking for that same offering that you're advertising or showing on your website. And I also think that just maybe more of a complex journey of purchase, just because there may be layers of people that has to go through or vet if this specific solution, product, service is right for the company or the business. And as opposed to someone that's just a consumer, it's like, okay, do I want this or not? It's my credit card or my money. Do I want this or not? With the a B2B, it's just different. There's just more people touching, more touch points alongside them trying to figure out if your offering, service, or product is right for them. So yeah, I think that's it from me. This was a quick one. We just wanted to, make sure that we still do our Ask a Freelancer, just kind of zoom out a little bit. That's just beyond, or Google Ads, content. But yeah, so moving forward, Ryan has another segment of news, PMax updates. You want to go ahead and take it away?
Don't we usually, well, for one thing, any B2B, needs, go to Gene, don't come to me. I will tell you to go away, go to Gene. So, don't we usually play the music as like a little bit of an outro or great?
Sorry.
No,
I
that's
love it.
great. That's great. It's like it comes full circle. We play the music, we say what we need to say,
Then
and the end.
outro.
I miss it when it's not there.
Me
Okay,
too.
cool. Last thing, and then we'll jump off for another episode. So it is official. Google Ads are going to launch channel reporting for Performance Max. This is something that, my gosh, we've been waiting. This is like Christmas for a lot of advertisers. We've been waiting for this for years, and finally, it's coming to fruition. Fruition? I think you can say fruition. I'm not
Yep.
sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, channel reporting. Um, why is this important? Because up until now, up until probably 2025, I would say, Performance Max has been a bit of a black box. We've not really been able to see what searches are being triggered. We don't really know where the money is going, where the clicks, where the impressions are going, and how much on which platform and things like that. So obviously there's certain scripts out there. Shout out to Mike Rhodes, and I think it's the agency Savvy Performance Max script that a lot of us have been using up until now. So, side note, I don't know actually what that means for Mike Rhodes and Agency Savvy, and I know they had a paid model or paid version of the script to kind of open it up a little bit more. So I don't know if that's still going to be relevant. People might just be lazy and keep that inside their accounts. I don't know. But I think we're probably going to expect to see this sooner or later in terms of channel reporting. And yeah, it's just something that I think I run Performance Max campaigns. I know Gene runs Performance Max campaigns. This is how it's going to look inside Google Ads. And I'm excited. It's going to be nice to finally see this and get it inside the actual campaign rather than have to go to like a Google sheet and take a look at an overview or get it in your email inbox or something like that. So yeah, this is something that has been a long time coming. I suspect it also has to do with Google versus the US state. I think they're going through a bit of a court hearing at the moment or something. the US government versus Google. And I think maybe this is one element that has kind of come out from that, is that we need more data. We need to be a little bit, or Google needs to be a little bit more transparent in the way that they do things. If you think about how powerful Google is as a company, how much data they have on every single person pretty much in the world. And, it's scary. And if they're black box, if they're gatekeeping things like that, that does obviously lead to a lot of concern. So I think I'm only, hypothetically speaking, I'm only just assuming. I could be completely wrong, but I imagine that a lot of these changes have come based off the fact that they are going against the US court, and there's this whole kind of court case going on. Um, but yeah, Gene, channel reporting inside Performance Max. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's about time. I think this is something that we've all been waiting for. Like Ryan said, I'm tired of the scripts and, changing stuff on the scripts, and I want something that's just embedded natively into the UI. I think that's something that's really important, as you could just go through in your Google Ads account and start clicking around and look and finally see, as an advertiser, see the breakdown of results across the surfaces. And I think that's really important, just because with the scripts you can kind of see what's going on, or just the insights, you can see what's going on. But to see more of what it's actually doing cross channel, I think that'll provide more information of maybe having independent campaigns be built off of this PMax insight, such as just a manual shopping or just a regular search campaign. So I think it's important to see the top performing channels and spot underperforming, and make better decisions and less waste on display or discover, and just create more of a streamlined optimization. But I also was looking at it, and I think some of the skepticisms for this is no control or opt out of specific channels. That would be pretty cool if we could be like, okay, yeah, all the channels are good, but no discover, or no Gmail or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm curious to see how they build off of this, but I think it's a good step in the correct direction.
Yeah, you make a lot of really good points. I think it would be cool to have something like a percentage system to say, okay, give me, if it's e-commerce, give me 60% or 70% on shopping, give me 5% on discover, maybe 10% on display, and kind of do it that way, where you can wait and say, like, okay, I want to distribute the budget across these platforms, across these channels in this way. That control would be the next level, I think, rather than just reporting. But nevertheless, this is definitely a step in the right direction. I actually like the visuals. I think it brings it to life a little bit. And I think I'm excited to showcase this and report on this to my clients. I think it's going to make it very clear and easy to understand. Um, but yeah, I think Gene's absolutely right, and this is what I've always done with Performance Max: is identify where your target market is hanging out with the Performance Max campaign, and then if you want to, after 3 6 months, you can double down on what works. So you might say, and I had this with a client where we were running, and this was lead generation. We were running a Performance Max campaign; it was working really, really well, and we identified that search was obviously a big key player, but also display was working really well for us as well. So off the back of that, I went and created a search campaign again, and created a display campaign, and so far so good. So I think this is just that next step in the right direction to double down on what works, and let this run, and see the results inside Google Ads. It sounds like it's such a silly thing that we're excited to get more reporting on Performance Max, but this is such a huge deal that it's kind of silly that we've not had it since now. You know what I mean? It's strange, but I mean, Gene, looking at the visuals, looking at what you're seeing here, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I
Impression?
mean, I think it's always funny that they do all these releases right before Google Marketing Live, which I think is in late May. I think that's always something that they could talk about, saying we're rolling this out during that conference. But yeah, I think it's good. And in addition to, we discussed this a couple of weeks back, I believe also the full search term reporting and enhanced performance metrics for PMAX campaigns, coupled with this, the channel, distribution of channel clicks and performance. I think it's really making it very attractive to use Performance Max more, and just kind of rounds out a little bit back to what we know Google Ads used to be and why we like Google Ads. We like Google Ads because we could see the search terms, we could click a negative keywords or make it negative immediately and just see a lot of the data. And for however long PMAX was out, we didn't have that. So that's why PMAX was kind of like the black sheep of all campaign types, because of the opacity, or just being opaque and not transparent. But now that they're introducing this, I think we're, as PPC managers, we only want more. Right. It's like, okay, like, yeah, I have asset group reporting and seeing that this specific asset is performing well, but how do I segment a search term for this asset that's a negative keyword, and not just at the campaign level? Because you're telling me, Google, that I have to make multiple asset groups to be an efficient PMAX campaign, but you're only giving me one box to rate negative keywords for all of the different asset groups that I have. I need more individuality so that I could say, okay, this is a negative keyword for this asset group, but this is not a negative keyword for this asset group. Just as if we were to create, a search campaign, we can do negative keywords by the ad group. It doesn't have to be campaign level. So I think them opening this box is just, for me at least, is like, I want more control, for PMAX. So.
And I kind of touched on it before, but last question, and then we'll wrap this episode up. I use it. You use it. A lot of advertisers use the Mike Rhodes PMAX script from Agency Savvy. I mean, what do you think is going to happen to that? I mean, it's probably like just part of the deal, right? That it's not going to work anymore, or they're not going to push it anymore. Probably doesn't even matter. But I'm a big fan of Mike Rhodes and what he did to give us that early access into what's going on behind the scenes in Performance Max, and he's kind of, I guess, had an indirect impact in this and in channel performance in Performance Max, and kind of paved the way for us to having this. So, what do you think is going to happen to that kind of script?
Yeah, I think it's going to be obsolete unless Mike Rhodes really puts the same amount of time and effort and money that Google Ads does. I think it's just going to be an unmatched, barrage of different features coming from Google that Mike Rhodes, unfortunately, is not going to keep up with. And that's what Google in general wants. They want the screen time, or just the website time, to be only on their platforms and nothing else. It's them creating a horizontal, net of, okay, we have Gmail, we have Google Sheets, we have, AI, we have everything you need. Why go anywhere else, basically? So I think it's just going to be difficult for Mike Rhodes. I'm sure Mike Rhodes has different types of verticals that he can, deploy. But I think that's just for this reporting side of the script. I think it's going to be, unfortunately, obsolete, because why leave Google Ads if it's right there? Or why install a script if it's, all right there? So, yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you, Mike, anyway, for paving the way for this. And we'll see what happens. But I can't wait for this to be inside our account so we can have this access as soon as possible. So that'll be really good. But that's pretty much it for this episode of the PPC Cave. It's been fun to talk about the new news results that Google have come out with in AI Max and channel performance reporting, I should say. So, Gene, if anybody wants a consultation with you, wants an audit from you, wants to work with you on an ongoing monthly basis, where can they find you?
GeneVillanoz.com.
And same for me. If you want any audits, consultations, campaign setups, management, all the good stuff, you can find me at ryanfentonppc.co.uk. And we release episodes every Monday at mountain time up in the mountains, probably Mount Kilimanjaro or somewhere. I'm not entirely sure.
Mount
But
Everest.
Mount Everest, yeah, exactly. And we're doing. I mean, I should say we, but Joel is doing an incredible job in terms of posting on the socials, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. He's really taken over and, keeping the channel fresh and alive for us, which is amazing. So be sure to like and follow us for the latest, news and tips and tricks from Google Ads. And if there's nothing else, we'll speak to you all next time. Take care.